Hey everyone, welcome to Firescale Audiobooks. If you enjoy the audiobooks, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to support us further, consider becoming a Patreon member. As a member, you'll gain the ability to request the next part of a novel audiobook I've uploaded, depending on your Patreon tier.
What the hell is this ending? Why is it an open ending? He should have gone for the harem. All girls are good. If he can't choose one, he should have gone for everyone. This is disappointing, and my day is ruined now. Nathan tossed his phone to his bed, only to find the phone's edge bouncing several times on the bed until it crashed into the wall. Nathan's heart skipped a beat. His day would become even worse if his screen cracked. No. Nathan rushed to the bed to check, only to get his chin hit the wooden frame. Ouch. Nathan hurriedly clutched his right shin, his eyes closing due to the throbbing pain. But due to him raising his right leg, he lost his balance. His left foot skipped a few times to counterbalance it, but his pinky toe bumped against the front leg of the bed. Tears leaked out of the corner of his eyes as he ended up losing his balance. He tried his best to open his eyes, glancing at the spot where he would fall. However, his expectation betrayed him again, as the only thing he saw was the sharp-pointed edge of his wooden table. There was only one thought in his mind. Why am I so unlucky? He closed his eyes as if he accepted his fate. However, the supposed darkness from closing his eyes was replaced by a blinding white light. What? Nathan was so disturbed by the light that he took several steps back. Around him stood multiple men and women, who looked like they were in their 15 or 16. What is his summon? Wait. Look at that. Above his head. Nathan felt unfamiliar with their words, but weirdly enough he could understand them. Now that he thought about it, his head felt so heavy. When he got out of his initial shock, his pupils rolled up trying to see what was above his head. To his surprise, a wolf head covered in white fur tilted its head down, staring at him with his golden eyes. A wolf cub. Nathan muttered. Before he could react, laughter suddenly resounded from the left. Ha 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 ha. It's actually a beast. What is this? A failure among failures. You can't even summon a goblin. Nathan was completely clueless about what was actually going on. His forehead was supposed to hit that sharp edge, but when he recalled it, there was an excruciating pain not only from his forehead but from all parts of his head. KHHH. Nathan clutched his head while gritting his teeth. Ag. That guy is insane now. Ha 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 ha. Nathan looked left and right before rushing to the door. He must be crying in tears. What a pathetic loser. The unknown guy kept mocking him this whole time. However, Nathan couldn't be bothered with it. After all, the stinging pain actually came with a lot of images in his mind. It was the story of a farmer boy who came to the capital city to attend the academy. Nathan simply searched for the toilet, ignoring the construction of the hall he had never seen before in his life. As soon as he reached the toilet, he just hid in the corner and closed the door. Ag. Nathan tried to endure such agonizing pain for 5 minutes. Ha. Ha. He panted heavily, his eyes were blurry. What? What happened? It seems that you are done, a heavy voice echoed from above his head. Ha. Nathan instinctively raised his head as a small wolf cub jumped off his head, landing smoothly on the ground. Who? Nathan felt like he was hallucinating as he saw a blue screen appearing out of thin air. Name, Fenrir. Level, 1. Race, Celestial Wolf. Quality, Basic, Low. Why can I see the name of a wolf from Norse mythology? Nathan furrowed his eyebrows. Instead of me, you should focus on yourself. And it can speak. Just shut up for a minute and see what you got in your head. Fenrir opened its mouth, showing its fangs, as if he was trying to threaten Nathan. Nathan wanted to speak but ended up calming down. As Fenrir said, when he saw the memories that entered his mind, the entire picture became clearer. He, Nathan, was the son of a farmer called Ethan. One day, a man noticed that he had magical power inside his body called Aina. As a result, he was sent to the capital city to receive an education in the famous summoner academy Phyrexia. 300 years ago, this world was invaded by mysterious beings. Despite their valiant efforts, the humans were losing against them. However, these mysterious beings were also bringing another thing to this world. It was called Aina. When humanity was on the brink of defeat, people awakened a power that could summon beings from another world. For some reason, the summoned creatures were all humanoid creatures. The one known for being the lowest was none other than a goblin. There were some strong summoned creatures, such as werewolves, elves, or even dwarves. Still, it was said that the top summoners in this world were known to have summoned archangels or even divine beings. After reviewing all the memories he had, Nathan began to calm down. He raised his head and asked, "Does this mean I've transmigrated to another world?" "No. By the way you spoke, you should have realized this fact as well. It seems that you're not an idiot." Fenrir nodded. "Indeed, but what I got was just a glimpse of the world you were in. The rest was the knowledge your current body had. In that case, why would I summon you?" Nathan felt this was wrong. If all summoned creatures were supposed to be humanoid, why would he summon a divine beast? "Isn't it because of you?" "Me?" Nathan was bewildered. He contemplated for a second before gasping. "Wait. Do you mean because I came to this world?" "That's the only reason I can think of." Fenrir harumphed. "I guess because of his identity, he doesn't have a lot of knowledge about this summoner thing." "And what is this academy?" "According to the memory, I seem to be taking an admission test. It's split into two, the Summoner Awakening, which allows them to summon a creature from another world, and the written test. From the looks of it, unless I do something special, they won't take me in. But if I want to learn more about this world, I need to be in this academy. In that case, the written test is my only way, except for the fact that I'm just a farmer. I know nothing. If I have summoned amazing beings, I would be let in even if I don't do anything in the written test. What should I do now?" Fenrir looked a bit surprised. When Nathan calmed down, he noticed that he was more reasonable to talk to. Still, there was one thing that needed to be corrected. "What do you mean you don't summon an amazing being?" "I'm the divine beast Fenrir." "What do you mean an amazing being?" Nathan stood up while pumping his fists. "This is it. This is the romance. In this world where you can summon other beings, isn't it a perfect chance to create a harem? Elf, vampire, or even an angel?" Fenrir's eyes twitched. He took back his praises. "You horny brat. Those are just temporary. Do you want me to bite you?" As he said those words, he pounced Nathan with his mouth wide open. "Aha! Stop it, you stupid dog with anger issue. I am a wolf." The teacher was standing in front of the vice principal of the school while sweating. For some reason, the vice principal had been staring at a single paper for the last 20 minutes. She was so absorbed that he felt something crazy would happen if he distracted her. After another 10 minutes, she raised her head, asking, "Johan, who is this kid?" "May I know who you're speaking of, Vice Principal?" "This student called Nathan." The teacher raised his eyebrows in surprise. "He is a farmer from the countryside. His body has a trace of Aina, so the one who spots him brings him to the capital city to take the test in the academy." "A farmer? You seem to know him. I don't see you looking at the student's details." The way Johan spoke piqued her interest. He made a quite big impact after all, not in a good way though. "Ho! What did he do?" "He summoned an animal." The teacher looked away. Even he didn't know how to react when he saw an animal coming out. "An animal? As in my original summon?" "No. A pure animal. The vice principal became even more curious. Take him to see me. The teacher looked shocked. He couldn't help but wonder what kind of trick that student used to pique the vice principal's curiosity. At the same time, he had to ask about the fate of the other students. How about the other students? This year, we have a few interesting students this time. From the most renowned family in vampire creatures, the Princess of Duke Ashton, Selena Ashton. The successor of the Blacksmith Guild, August Reeves. The second prince of the Lyastian Kingdom, known for his hyena, Rudius Viti Lyastian. The vice principal snapped her fingers. All of a sudden, an elf appeared next to her. She had long silver hair and a similar outfit as the vice principal, as though she had gotten used to living in this world. Alicia. Give me a second. She smiled. She scanned the papers of all students and started giving points to each of them. It didn't take more than 5 minutes to grade all the students. I'm done. Thank you. No worries. Call me anytime. She winked before disappearing into thin air. Here you go. The vice principal handed the paper to Johann. This is the grade. However, wait until I meet this kid. Is there something wrong with this kid? I will have a talk with him first before deciding whether to let him remain as a normal farmer or not. The decision baffled him, but he had no choice but to agree. I understand. I'll bring him to you. Meanwhile, Nathan was sitting on a bench, away from other students. Fenrir was sitting next to him. So do you think you can get enrolled here? Fenrir asked. I don't know. I've done my best, but I don't know if it will work or not. Nathan shrugged. I wonder what kind of work we can do outside. Does this world have an adventurer guild? That's the starting pack of an ice guy. ISE, what? Your words confused me. Well, just think of it being summoned to another world by a god or goddesses. I wonder how strong they are. Can I fight them? Now that I think about it, I can't help but wonder what kind of knowledge you have in your head. For example, do you know that you are only one legend among many others? Do you mean there are other divine beasts and gods and goddesses? Fenrir's eyes brightened. Why do you look like you want to fight them? Nathan's eyebrows twitched. Besides, I want to summon another one. Preferably a woman. What if you end up summoning another divine BEA, MMFF? Fenrir widened his eyes as his mouth was shut by 2 fingers. Shut up. Don't you jinx it, stupid dog. Nathan glared at him. Fenrir slipped away from him and bit his hand. How dare you stop me from speaking, you horny brat. Besides, I'm a wolf. Aag. It's human abuse. Nathan was struggling to break free. Despite his anger, the bite wasn't that powerful. It seemed that Fenrir controlled his strength well. That was why he was also acting casually toward him. While they were arguing, Nathan couldn't help but catch a glimpse of the female student seated next to him earlier. What? Fenrir stopped for a second before getting annoyed again. I thought, what could catch your attention? It turned out to be a woman. Are you going to confess to her right away? Flat rejection is what I'll get. Besides, look at her. What? I can't see anything different between her and other females. Tisk, TSK, TSK. Just look at her cold and aloof atmosphere, her beautiful appearance, and her indifference toward others. This girl has a heroine quality. You always talk as if we are inside a book. Have you ever imagined yourself getting injured or getting one of your limbs chopped off? This is your reality right now. Staying in this academy means that you will experience a lot of hardships. I know that. Nathan's expression turned solemn. I can't even hold the pain of getting hit in the shin, or having your pinky toe bump against a bed's front leg, so I can't imagine what it feels like to get cut or shot. That's why I want to stay in this academy, learning more about it step by step so that I can survive in this world. Humph. You are pretty reasonable if we get rid of that annoying side of yours. Just get stronger. If you are strong enough, you can get any woman you want. Fenrir harumphed. Right? Isn't that the main driving factor? It's said that if you have a driving factor, you can improve much faster. Looking at Nathan's smug face made Fenrir want to bite him again. Unfortunately, he didn't have the chance as the teacher actually came to him. Student Nathan. Please follow me to talk about your admission. Nathan and Fenrir couldn't help but smile inwardly. They knew that the fish had taken the bait. Nathan entered the vice principal's room. Even he didn't expect to meet such a high-ranking person in this academy. But more importantly, he was able to witness the person who took care of the academy, and she didn't disappoint. The vice principal had a rather slender figure that was barely visible from the contour of the robe. Her eyes were filled with wisdom, giving a different type of charm. She gave a weird pressure that made Nathan feel a bit nervous. Meanwhile, the vice principal took a glimpse of the animal that Jason was talking about, which made her even more curious. So you are student Nathan, the one who is said to summon an animal instead of a humanoid creature. The vice principal squinted her eyes, giving a sense of oppression. Nathan took a deep breath as if he were trying to calm his heart down. Yes. The vice principal showed his paper. The reason I call you is regarding your answers. It seems that you have a rather unique perspective. Nathan couldn't deny it since he came not from this world. Besides, his knowledge was limited as well. He had prepared a reply for this remark. I didn't know much, so I just wrote things I could think of from all the knowledge I currently had. I was just desperate. Desperate, huh? Could I ask you some questions to verify this was your thought? I couldn't help but doubt because it felt like your answers came from someone who studied this field for more than 20 years. I understand. Nathan still showed a sign of nervousness. On the one hand, there wasn't any confirmation yet that he had been accepted. On the other hand, he had to act nervous since that was how a farmer would act if he met a high-ranking person. How about this first question? It doesn't seem that you don't have any basic knowledge about Aina. The vice principal came to him. To have more than one summoned creature, you need to have more Aina. The vice principal came with a candle and a knife. This knife represents the amount of Aina that you have in your body. If you summon a creature, it's the same as sacrificing that amount of Aina forever so that the summoned creature can stay in this world for as long as you are alive. The vice principal chopped off half of the candle in one go. That's why the first summoned creature will be the most important because it can determine the amount of Aina in your body. I'm not saying that it's the end for you if you don't have a powerful summoned creature, but to increase Aina, you need resources. Without any background, you can only rely on yourself to get that resource. With a weak summoned creature, going for that resource is basically suicide. Anyway, the stronger the summoned creatures you summon, the more Aina you sacrifice. In other words, you need to increase your Aina a lot before summoning your second creature so that the one getting summoned will be stronger. The first question is asking about your thoughts about how much Aina you need to sacrifice. The other students in your class are giving estimates from 0.5 times of your original Aina to 100 times. However, your answer is making a generalization of the summoned creatures. Why do you think so? Johann was quite surprised by the answer. If he were the student, he would give the same answer as other students. Meanwhile, Nathan actually said, I think that your explanation has just confirmed my answer. Ho! Elaborate. If we need more Aina to summon a more powerful creature, it means that a certain creature requires a certain amount of Aina. If we can generalize the amount of Aina required to summon a certain creature, won't it give a higher chance for the summoner to call that creature? If that's the case, measuring Aina accurately will be very important, especially if it's in number. For example, if we buy a wooden spoon for 1 copper coin, we can buy silverware for 1 silver coin. The measurement of money is accurate, which reflects in quality, explained Nathan. Meanwhile, his heart was beating rapidly as he was screaming inwardly, hell yeah, I'm going to say every bit of rubbish I have in mind. However, it was actually pretty effective, judging from the vice principal's expression. Jason was behind him, so he couldn't see his stunned face. An accurate measurement device. The vice principal looked down for a moment before she laughed. Ha 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 ha. Nathan was confused about her reaction. Jason couldn't help but whisper, the vice principal sets for questions based on her research. The first question is among them. Ah. Nathan understood why she laughed. This woman actually believed all the gibberishes he came up with. Fenrir was dumbfounded as he remembered Nathan saying, "We fake it until we make it." He never thought it would be the case. The vice principal decided to change her approach. She turned to Jason and said, "I'm done confirming it. Post the result." "What about him?" Jason asked. "He will enroll in this academy." Jason nodded. Even he thought that if the other answers were similar to what he heard, it wouldn't be wrong for him to join. If he somehow didn't become a good summoner, his way of thinking might result in 1 or 2 major breakthroughs in this field. "I'll take care of it immediately." Thank you very much." Nathan hurriedly thanked her since this meant he could stay in a safe place for a while. However, the vice principal had another surprise for him. As soon as Jason exited the room, the vice principal walked to Nathan. "I'm the vice principal of this academy, Vivian Lorelei." "I am Nathan." She just smiled. While extending her hand, she asked, "Nathan, do you want to be a student of mine?" "Student?" Nathan looked shocked, wondering if this was a dream or not. Even Fenrir couldn't contain his bewilderment. Did this guy just get her to protect him just from writing some bullshit? It's the teacher. He is bringing a big scroll. That must be the result. The students had been gathering in the hall to know about their result. Some of them were already sure about their result and went home earlier, while most of the students remained just to make sure about it. Jason posted the result on the board before walking out of the room. The students immediately rushed to the board to find their names. One student fell on his knees out of happiness. "Oh! I got accepted. Why? I have done my best." Another one was leaving in tears. Out of a total of 130 people, only 86 people were accepted. Jason glanced at them for a bit. He didn't care about their excitement since he had seen the most ridiculous thing he could find in this enrollment. Who would have thought that a student who he thought wouldn't pass end up becoming the vice principal's student? However, there was one person that caught his eye. It was the blonde-haired guy that kept insulting Nathan. That guy should be nobility, if I remember correctly. Is his father the lord of the territory that governs the land where Nathan came from? Maybe I should keep an eye on him, thought Jason while walking away. The only reason he didn't think much of it was because of the smug smile he had, as if he only cared about his own result, not Nathan's, so he thought the friction between them was small. Meanwhile, Nathan was facing a task that was much more problematic than he originally thought. It was studying. He thought that he would be reading books. Even though he wouldn't enjoy it, he had read a lot of novels, so he could bear reading study books. But what he didn't expect was his teacher actually teaching him directly. She was actually sitting on the table in front of him while crossing her legs while fixing her glasses. This is torture. Nathan shifted his gaze away, not knowing where to look. You must be tired from all the tests. All students will have to spend their nights in their dorms, but that's only after their enrollment. You can go to your dorm right now, but since there is 1 week before the official enrollment, you will live with me. Understood. Nathan nodded. But before that, I'll tell you 3 things about the summoners. Vivian raised 3 fingers. First of all, we don't call summoned creatures as it is. We have to respect them as well and call them either as familiars or their names. Secondly, as I have explained earlier, to summon a familiar, you need Aina. However, that's not only the requirement. To a certain extent, we're able to summon a familiar that we want by using it. This is what we call sacrifice. For example, using a tree as a sacrifice and doing the summoning ritual inside a forest will give you a higher chance to summon an elf, a druid, or any other being living inside the forest. However, the first summon is different. We can't use a sacrifice because our body is the sacrifice for the first summon, which ultimately turns our body into a full-fledged summoner. Well, you may call it a beacon for other familiars to respond to our call. That's why it's a good measurement to check their talent from their first summon. Last but not least, even though your summons will be handling most of the battles, you have to learn some martial arts so that you can at least protect yourself. During this 1 week, I'll have my familiar teach you hand-to-hand combat. If you can endure it and keep working hard, I believe that you will become a great summoner. Nathan nodded. Can I ask a question, teacher? Ask away. How many familiars can one have? And what will happen if they somehow die? Vivian had expected the first question, but she never thought Nathan had considered the second one. There is no limit to how many familiars you can have. In the end, it's related to how much ana you have in your body. Remember my first lesson earlier? Yes. Everyone has their own style of summoner they envision of. There is a scary man in the north that can summon 1,000,000 skeletons. There is a beast summoner in the east who fights alongside his familiar, who happens to be a draconian, a combination of both a human and a dragon. There is a great man in the central plain that has the support of an archangel. I see. Nathan contemplated for a moment. Does that mean even if we're fighting someone, it will only be against their strongest familiar? Can't they summon the others? They can, but in the end, if the power gap is too big, it simply makes no difference. But can't the familiars just get stronger? The process will simply require a lot of resources. Do you know why they receive our call? Nathan shook his head. Some are going because of goodwill, but some are here for the chance to become stronger. It's more complicated, so I'll teach you later. I understand. Nathan waved his hands, implying that she could teach him when she had time. As for what will happen if they die, your connection will be lost forever, and the ana you've sacrificed won't return to you. At the same time, there is no proof that they are dying as well. There's a possibility that they simply return to their world without any chance of going back. Oh. Nathan nodded. It would be sad if they couldn't meet their partner anymore, but in the end, they were not the beings of this world. For now, read these 2 books. She handed over a rather thin book. It didn't seem to be more than 100 pages, which he believed he could finish within a week. Alicia. A wind swirled next to Vivian. As it dispersed, an elven figure made her appearance. Bring him back to the mansion. No, buy him some clothes first. Sure. Alicia responded with a smile. She approached Nathan and extended her hand. Let's go. Nathan nodded as she led him outside. Fenrir, who had been staying this whole time, couldn't help but think, this guy must be thinking how lucky he is. Alicia. Sorry, is it appropriate to call you by your name? Nathan scratched the back of his head. You can call me or other familiars by our names unless there's an agreement between you and the said familiar. Alicia explained. Her voice sounded soothing. Is that so? Then, Alicia. Is there a marriage between a human and a familiar? Nathan asked. There are. It's just that there won't be any child due to the difference in our races. Oh. Nathan didn't know whether he had to be disappointed or not. He looked away while explaining, sorry, it must be an inappropriate question. I couldn't help but ask it when I saw such a beautiful woman. Foo-foo, thank you. Alicia chuckled, somehow the atmosphere brightening around her. Still, I'm surprised that Mistress Vivian chose to get a disciple. There are numerous people who want to be her disciples, but she has never accepted anyone. Of course, this is a compliment. You must have a quality that she treasures dearly. Please don't look down on yourself. At the same time, don't be too complacent. If you want others to respect you, you have to earn it. It's not given just because you're Mistress Vivian's student. Understood? Yes. Nathan nodded with a solemn expression. In that case, do you mind if I ask you a few more questions? Sure. I'll answer it to the best of my ability. Nathan started asking a few trivial questions. He couldn't be too direct and gave away his identity as a transmigrator. At the same time, he was gradually learning about this world. In the school's main entrance, Selena Ashton was reading a book underneath a tree. She was the same student who ended up sitting next to Nathan during the test. Her focus was on the book when all of a sudden, a familiar voice distracted her. So that's how it is. She couldn't help but raise her head, looking at the source of that voice and finding Nathan walking with an elf. Is that the person who summoned a wolf during the test? She asked inwardly, her face remaining expressionless. But the one walking with him is an elf. She couldn't help but remember what happened a while ago. She was waiting for the test result in this same spot, so she witnessed how the teacher actually came to Nathan and brought him somewhere. To her surprise, the same student suddenly came out with an elf. What was it supposed to mean? Did he manage to enroll in this academy? If his talent is bad, does that mean he is smart enough to be enrolled? As they passed by, she couldn't help but overhear their conversation. By the way, what is your familiar's quality? Quality? Nathan tilted his head in confusion. He could only think of one thing, which Alicia confirmed. Yep. Once you become a summoner, you should be able to see a blue screen giving information about your own familiars. There should be name, level, race, and quality. Oh. Can you explain it a bit more about them? Let's see. Name and race should be obvious, and we only need them for record. However, level is meant for us to become stronger. Mistress should have told you about the reason why we heed your calls, right? Yes. It's to become stronger. How do you even increase your level? It's by defeating an enemy and absorbing their core. Half of the world is currently occupied by aliens. These aliens, while weird, have cores inside of them. It's filled with ana. By absorbing the ana inside that core, we're able to increase our level. The second way is to evolve. Take me as an example. I can become a high elf as an evolution. This is what the mistress mentioned earlier regarding requiring a huge amount of resources. So cores are for levels while evolution is for race. Yes. You're smart. She smiled. As for the last one, quality. It's basically the talent measurement for familiars. It's divided into 4 categories. They are basic, good, excellent, and perfect, which are further divided into low, mid, and high tiers. The higher the quality, the more efficient they are in absorbing the cores. Nathan looked down, contemplating. Fenrir is a divine beast, but right now, he has the lowest quality. Does that mean Fenrir is not the one I know? Does Fenrir have to evolve? Wait. If it's all related to the amount of ana, can I sacrifice more ana for Fenrir? Will he grow stronger that way? Nathan couldn't help but ask Alicia. Is it possible if I sacrifice more ana for a familiar? Will it grow stronger? That's a good question. The theory shows a possibility, but no one has ever succeeded yet. Is that so? Nathan looked dejected. It might not work, but it might be different for Fenrir since he was a divine beast instead of a humanoid familiar. Well, he has low-tier basic quality. Ah. Alicia smiled wryly. I believe that you will grow stronger. Thank you. Nathan smiled back. He added inwardly, well, he is a divine beast, so I believe I'll get stronger. Besides, I have gotten a safe place for my early development. Since this is my new reality, I'll be bold but careful at the same time. I don't want to die in a stupid way again. Let's see. Based on my experiences in reading novels, the academy arc will usually start with a practical lesson, bullying from upperclassmen, or a brainrot young master syndrome challenge. Nathan had to prepare for those 3 possibilities within a week, while hoping he wouldn't be the target. That was what he thought until Alicia's expression turned grim. Alicia turned her head to the academy's gate, finding more than 20 people suddenly barging into the academy. Each of them was covered in black, leaving only their eyes. Stop! The guards summoned their familiars, which were an orc and a kobold. However, both the guards and their relatives were suddenly slashed by several people, instantly killing them. Students in sight. Capture them. Alicia stepped forth as if trying to cover Nathan. She noticed a spider mark on the neck of one of them. Stand back. They are terrorists. Nathan was taken aback, his heart felt like it stopped for a second. Just after thinking that the situation would be calm for 1 week, it turned out everything began with a terrorist attack. I almost forgot that not a single day has passed. This is my unluckiest day, isn't it? There were a lot of questions in his mind, but the priority remained. They needed to deal with this terrorist in one way or another. Fenrir hopped on top of Nathan's head to get a better view. 22 people, only 10 of them are humans. You can speak. Alicia was startled for a second before shaking her head. That doesn't matter. Can you identify them? Find all the humans. Fenrir smirked and inhaled as much air as possible, and held it on his belly. After that, he let out a cute roar befitting his current form. Waff! Despite such a cute roar, Alicia's felt an intense killing intent that made her feel like she was just a prey before him. Those who don't stop are humans. Alicia snapped back, realizing that precisely 10 people continued moving, as if they were completely unaffected by it. With a wave of her hand, a strong gale flowed toward 4 terrorists, 2 humans and 2 familiars. The 2 familiars were clasping their hands. The left side formed a wall made of rock, while the other one created a curtain of water. The rock managed to block the gale completely, but the water curtain got pushed back, albeit didn't completely crumble. However, this was just a distraction. A bow appeared out of thin air as she aimed at the human that these 2 familiars protected. The moment she released her arrow, it flew so fast that it created a small shockwave behind it. The arrow pierced through the curtain of water and disintegrated the human's head. As if realizing her power, 2 other familiars halted their steps. A firebird flew off the hand of one of them. Meanwhile, the other familiar rushed with an axe. Alicia clapped her hand as a burst of wind expanded in all directions, neutralizing the firebird. However, the muscular familiar closed the gap between them and swung his big axe. She extended her hand to the axe, forming a swirling wind that the axe couldn't cut. The muscular familiar was shocked, never expecting that there would be such a strong familiar right at the front gate. However, there were still several people around the main gate. Kya! Help! 2 students screamed from the right side, which slightly distracted her. She had to save them, but at the same time, she had to protect Nathan. The situation went from bad to worse the moment she sensed a clash on the opposite side. Blood spear. That's the girl from the Ashton family. Alicia bit her lips. She waved her other hand, trying to hit the muscular familiar with her bow, but to no avail. The muscular familiar blocked it with its big arm, stopping her completely. Meanwhile, Selena was getting attacked by a familiar. She had summoned her own familiar, who happened to be a woman with bat wings on her back. 3 spears made of blood floated around her as she shot them one by one to stop the familiar charge. This unknown familiar was as big as the one that attacked Alicia, but there was a pair of bull horns on top of its head, which couldn't be completely covered. The blood spears hit the charging familiar as the latter smashed it one by one, gradually closing the gap between them. The vampire's eyes turned bloodshot as it waved both hands at the same time. All of a sudden, a tornado appeared on each hand, pinching the familiar from 2 sides. The familiar actually caught the blood tornadoes with its bare hands. The vampire tried to apply more pressure, but the enemy was the one gaining an upper hand. At the same time, there was a man's voice echoing from behind them. Got you, little girl. The vampire was distracted by that voice since it must be the enemy. Now that she lost control over her tornadoes, the enemy familiar ripped apart the blood tornadoes. Moo! The familiar charged at full speed. At the same time, the enemy human grabbed Selena from behind. Let go of me. Selena struggled as she was being dragged away. Selena! The vampire turned around, only to find Nathan coming from the side and punching the guy in the face. On the opposite side, Fenrir had pounced on the familiar, and bit the tack of the familiar's neck before tearing it with his sharp teeth. The blood spurted off from the back of its neck as the familiar fell down. The vampire wanted to take down the human, but Nathan pointed his finger at the muscular familiar that kept Alicia in check. Help her! The vampire hesitated for a second, but Nathan looked at her with a sincere gaze as if telling her that Selena would be fine. Alicia noticed that both the man and the familiar didn't manage to react to their attacks as if everything went according to their plan. It was as if these two were waiting for the right time, where the enemies didn't suspect an attack to take them down. Alicia chose to trust Nathan this time, and turned around, pointing her palm at the muscular familiar. Multiple bats made of blood emerged from her palm, and flew toward the muscular familiar. They bit the muscular familiar, which caused him to get distracted a little bit. Seeing the gap in his defense, Alicia spun her body, and sent a back kick on the familiar's stomach. The wind burst out the moment of impact, pushing the familiar back. With such a distance, Alicia turned around and aimed her arrow at whatever the enemy left around Nathan, only to find him pointing his finger at the girls that were about to be kidnapped by the terrorists. Alicia hurriedly turned around and shot one of the terrorists. When she was about to take down the second one, the muscular familiar approached her again. This time, she didn't fight alone. 2 blood tornadoes flew toward the muscular familiar. It didn't push him back like Alicia's kick, but it forced the familiar to halt and block them. As a result, Alicia managed to shoot the second terrorist, saving the 2 girls. After that, she formed an arrow with more aim than the previous shots, aiming it at the muscular familiar. Out of desperation, the muscular familiar pushed its axe to the very limit, breaking free from the blood tornadoes. After that, he slashed downwards to chop the arrow that came straight to his head. To his surprise, the arrow actually curved as if avoiding the axe. It then returned to its original trajectory, and obliterated the head. Even though she had neutralized the immediate threat, Alicia immediately turned around, and saw the human terrorist trying to beat Nathan from behind. The vampire was taken aback, wanting to help but too late. Selena didn't even realize what was currently happening. There was Aina gathered in that fist, so Nathan would definitely be heavily injured if that fist hit him. Yet Nathan just smiled. You are a clever brat if you are normal. Fenrir's voice echoed as he leaped into the air and snapped the human's neck with his powerful jaws. Where do you think you're going? Jason asked coldly while holding 2 heads in his hands. A galloping sound of a horse resounded from the side as a centaur came, while swinging his blade swiftly, slicing the 2 humans that were trying to escape from Jason. On the left side of the entrance, a group of guards came to reinforce. Kill those who resist. Apprehend the rest. A guard shouted as he had his werewolf pinning down a terrorist on the ground. The other guards followed the instruction, and worked together to take the enemies down. On the other side, giant roots emerged from the ground and captured 3 of the terrorists. The one controlling them was an elderly druid. It seems they are fine, mistress. He glanced at Vivian, who was staring at the academy's entrance from the roof. Yeah. Vivian closed her eyes. It seems that he is more extraordinary than I originally thought. You look so happy, mistress. I suppose I should say congratulations. Vivian responded with a smile. HAAA. Nathan let out a long sigh, his face turning pale. Even though he had expected this kind of outcome, the foul blood smell and the horrendous state of the corpse made him want to vomit. Are you all right, Nathan? Alicia immediately checked on him after seeing there were no more threats around. Even the ones she didn't have time to kill had already moved further in. Yes, I'm fine. Are you sure you don't need to chase them? Your safety is my current priority. The threat here has been neutralized, so I assume that the rest will be taken down by the school's personnel. I see. Nathan fell on his but with a tired expression. Once he knew they were safe, all adrenaline left his body. Who are they? I'm assuming chaotic cat terrorists. They are terrorists who are kidnapping people who have just become summoners to brainwash and train them as their own. Because it's still a holiday, they must try to take advantage of the situation to kidnap the new students. It never happens whenever the principal is in the school. It seems that they know that the principal is away and attack us. I see. Why would humans attack each other when they have common enemies? Nathan let out a long sigh. Alicia couldn't answer that question. Instead, she turned to Selena and the vampire. Miss Selena and her familiar, I'd like to express my gratitude for helping me earlier. No. I didn't do anything. Selena shook her head. She glanced at Nathan. Never in her wildest dream would she imagine that a farmer, who was said to have worse talent than even the worst student, would be the one saving her. Even the vampire thought the same. If not for Nathan's instruction, they wouldn't achieve such a swift battle. What are we supposed to do now? Should we stay here until it's safe? Nathan asked. That's probably for the best. Alicia agreed. If you don't mind, please come with me. Nathan nodded as he dragged his body up. He wished to lay down on his bed to get some rest. He simply had experienced so much before he could have a peaceful time to sort of his thoughts after this transmigration. Alicia guided them along with the other two girls to the school building, which was the safe place. After that, she politely bowed to them before leading Nathan to the empty cafeteria. While walking, she couldn't help but say, "Good work." I was simply desperate. Nathan shook his head helplessly. He didn't have time to prepare for his first battle, so the aftermath was quite a surprise even for him. No. I mean, good work for holding out. Alicia brought him a cup of water. It's fine now if you want to let it out. Ah. Nathan was embarrassed. I'm fine now. Foo-foo. Alicia smiled gently, assuring him that it was fine. After confirming that Nathan felt relaxed, she turned to Fenrir. You are a powerful wolf. How come you only have basic quality? Isn't it because he is too weak? Fenrir harumphed, blaming Nathan for everything that happened. What did you say? Nathan glared at him. If his talent was to summon a divine being, it meant that he could summon a goddess instead of getting stuck with a furry. You are blaming everything on me when you're the one who is unreliable. Say what? You wouldn't be here if I didn't protect you earlier. Everything went according to my plan. And you merely followed it. Give me back the rational human, not this annoying one. Fenrir jumped to Nathan. Aya. This is human abuse. Foo-foo. Alicia couldn't help but chuckle watching their quarrel. Even though Fenrir was strong and intelligent, he still trusted his contractor and followed his plan. At the same time, Nathan might not be strong, but he was bold and smart enough to solve the problem. They looked so perfect as a duo in her eyes. I'm sure that you both will get stronger. Alicia smiled. If she was just trying to be nice and cheer for him earlier, she definitely said it from the bottom of her heart this time. Their performances convinced her that they would reach a high level. It seems that you are more capable than I thought, my dear student. Vivian's voice suddenly echoed. Nathan was startled while Alicia bowed to her. Mistress. I was simply desperate. Nathan smiled wryly. Not many students could remain calm in your situation. Yet you managed to view everything carefully and give instructions to solve the problem. Vivian summoned the old druid and said, you should go back. He will accompany you guys. There was a pair of red eyes staring at them from the corner of the hallway. She was none other than Selena. Her curiosity got the better of her as she chose to follow them, never thinking that she would be finding such a sight. Isn't that the vice principal? The one who is known as the Forest Queen. What did she say earlier? Dear student. Is he the student of the Forest Queen? But how? If it's not his talent, does this mean he is smart enough that the Forest Queen takes him as her student? Ha! Finally. Nathan laid down on the bed, burying his face in the sheet. Today is so tiring. It seems that you have thought about your future plan. Fenrir leaped onto the bed. Not really. I'm not talking about that. Fenrir's tone became soft. I'm talking about your decision to stay in this world. Aha. Nathan fell silent for a moment, his eyes were glistening. This world is much more dangerous, and I can die at any time. Meanwhile, on Earth, I was abused by my family, and reading novels was just me trying to escape from all those pains. Fenrir could feel his pain a little bit. I know that I'm not the smartest or the brightest. I might make a lot of mistakes along the way. However, I'm not planning to go down quietly. Nathan extended his hand. I don't know what you feel about me, but I'll be relying on you a lot, Fenrir. Fenrir looked at his hand for a moment before saying, You better not die. I want to reach the peak and fight those so-called gods and goddesses. Those weird aliens are probably good opponents as well. Nathan smiled. Now that I think about it, you are right. This world allows the summoners to summon humanoid creatures such as draconians and archangels. If you think about it, I don't think there is a single human, right? Is there something wrong about it? Fenrir tilted his head in confusion. I'm talking about the possibilities that gods and goddesses who, while not humans, are still humanoid, such as the moon with a jackal's head, Anubis. There are a lot of mythologies on Earth. Maybe even that archangel is also among them. In other words, what they can summon is not limited to fantasy beings but also legendary beings. Either way, I can fight them. I want to test my might against all those powerful beings. That sounds like you. Nathan smiled. By the way, what can you do in your current form? Can you grow stronger? I'm about to test it. How about sitting first? I want to test if you can sacrifice more Aina. The familiars in this world can't because they're trying to become stronger, not regain their strength. Nathan understood the difference between them. Yes. What am I supposed to do? I've been manipulating this link between us for a while and noticed something. Well, I'm also inspired by what you said earlier about measuring Aina with numbers. When I come here, I believe I only take half of your Aina. I'm thinking about getting a bit more. How do you do that? This is just speculation, but you might be able to do it. Something that can only be done by two familiars. Two familiars? Nathan's body shook. Haven't you thought about that possibility as well? Fenrir grinned. Why did you take over this body? How was it even possible? And why would it happen right in his awakening? Nathan's face turned grim. The familiar that the original Nathan was supposed to summon was me. For some reason, I ended up killing him and taking over his body. And because we were in the middle of the awakening, I summoned you. Fenrir smirked. I can't sense the original Nathan anymore, but it doesn't change the fact that you are also a familiar that is inhabiting a body. This might be your true power. You can harness the power of familiar and summoner at the same time. Nathan sucked a cold breath. In that case, what exactly is my ability as a familiar? That's why I was quiet most of the time. I was searching how to see that, and that was where I figured out two things. Fenrir pointed his paw at the mirror. Can't you see your own quality as familiar if you see yourself in the mirror? Nathan rushed to the dressing table and saw himself in the mirror. As Fenrir expected, he could actually see his own information. Name, Nathan Rekmoon. Level, 1. Race, human. Quality, basic, high. Ahahaha. This is ridiculous. Nathan dropped to the chair. Then again, this might be the only explanation. This contract you're talking about. What does it do? Before that, why don't you check your ability as a familiar first? Close your eyes and concentrate your focus on your mind. You should be able to see something in that darkness. Aha! Nathan followed his instruction. To his surprise, he indeed saw something. Skill, soul contract. There was only a single line, but it actually became the answer to all his doubts. Why would he come to this world? Why would he take over the original Nathan's body? What if everything was due to this ability? Soul contract. What if the price of the contract was the original Nathan body? But why do I not remember it? Is the contract stating that I should lose my memory about it as well? In that case, what kind of thing have I agreed to? Can you see it? Fenrir asked. I can see one skill, replied Nathan while pinching the bridge of his nose. I have a lot of skills. For whatever reason, it names all my abilities. However, most of them are sealed. This is my reason for believing that I can actually do this. I only have 4 weak abilities. Nathan looked at Fenrir and said, it might be possible. My ability is soul contract. I can't explain it, but somehow I feel like I can use it. It's weird. As expected, you are the one who can probably make it true. Fenrir extended his paw. Let's test it. I'll offer you one of my skills, Deadly Claw, in exchange for 30% of your remaining Aina. Are you sure about this? If you lose one of 4 abilities, it'll be a huge blow. In exchange, you can utilize my ability. If you get stronger and fight together with me, it'll be even better. Besides, if this contract really works, it means that I can grow through that contract, unlocking more abilities. Since Fenrir had made his resolve, Nathan closed his eyes, concentrating. After a few seconds, he extended his palm and muttered, Soul contract. Suddenly, a golden scroll manifested out of thin air, gradually rolling down. Words appeared one after another. Contract. Fenrir is to offer his skill, Deadly Claw, to Nathan Rekmoon. Nathan Rekmoon will give 30% of his Aina. This contract shall be signed by the 2 parties. Nathan muttered while pointing his thumb at Fenrir, as if asking him to cut it. Fenrir scratched until it bled. Nathan's eyebrows twitched, but he endured the pain. He then pressed it on the contract. Fenrir did the same and signed it with his paw. Now that the contract had been signed by the 2 parties, the contract burst into flame as blue particles leaked out of their bodies. Phew! Nathan inhaled deeply. Just like his soul contract, this Deadly Claw didn't have any explanation either. However, if he had to do it, he felt like he could unleash this power. Meanwhile, Fenrir noticed that his Aina increased drastically, as if the amount of Aina transferred from Nathan multiplied. It seemed that this method really worked. Nathan saw both Fenrir's excitement and status. Name, Fenrir. Level, 13. Race, Celestial Wolf. Quality, Basic, Mid. Fenrir stared at Nathan, who later confirmed. It works. It seems that we have found a unique path to get stronger. Fenrir grinned. Yeah. I might have to be careful though. If I give too much Aina to the point I barely have enough Aina to use a skill, it'll be dangerous for me. I know that. It will be better if we have the tool to measure Aina accurately. True. Looking at how happy my teacher is, she is probably on the verge of success. We can only wait until she finishes then. Fenrir nodded in agreement. Fenrir was the one extending his paw this time, reminding Nathan about earlier. I'll be counting on you. I want to fight a lot. He still felt a lot of things were missing in the theory of him getting summoned here, but there were a lot of things he had to do, such as finding out the content of the contract he had with the original Nathan or simply living to the fullest in this world. Nevertheless, he knew one thing. He couldn't achieve it alone, so he extended his hand, bumping his fist to Fenrir's. I'm counting on you, Fenrir. Me too. They acted casual and believed each other previously, but they confirmed it this time. By the way, don't forget to prioritize me, and not focus on future women, even if you summon one in the future. There was an awkward silence for a moment before Nathan vaguely agreed. Oi. Fenrir gnashed his teeth. You horny brat. What do you mean? We don't have a contract about that. I'm going to bite yours off so that you don't have to think about it anymore in the future. I'll pluck every fur and tooth you have before neutering you if you dare to do that, you stupid dog. I'm a wolf. Nathan picked up the book to learn more about summoners. Although Fenrir didn't admit it, he also read the book so that he could get stronger. He realized that he might be able to get even stronger if he created stronger abilities, if he combined it with the knowledge of this world or from other familiars. Hence, both of them focused on studying. The next morning, Vivian called Nathan and Fenrir to the backyard. It was a nice and flat backyard with a big empty field in the middle. It seemed that Vivian used it for sparring from time to time. Vivian asked, "Do you have any preferred weapons?" Nathan looked down, falling into deep thought. A weapon, huh? Should I go for the sword? Is it too cliché? Should I go for a spear or something unusual like wires? But this is my new reality. If I can't learn it, I might die. I have deadly claw right now. I don't know what I will get from my future familiars, but I do know I will be fighting with Fenrir for a while. Should I go for a glove or gauntlet that allows me to use deadly claw? After some consideration, Nathan explained, I'm not sure. To be honest, I saw Alicia fighting with a bow yesterday. At the same time, it seemed that she could fight barehanded as well. So you don't need a weapon. Well, it's true that manipulating Aina can give you a power similar to a good weapon, but we also have dwarven blacksmiths that can create weapons surpassing that. I guess it's better to have a weapon. How about gloves? They are not thick, but they can be durable enough to withstand a weapon. However, it also means that you need good control over your Aina. The school should be teaching it, so I won't burden you with so many tasks at once. If you have any questions, you can ask me for extra lessons. How's that? Sounds good. Great. If it's hand-to-hand combat, I guess I'll have to change your instructor. She contemplated for a moment before Alicia appeared next to her, asking, How about I do it, mistress? You will do it. Vivian looked surprised. I've taken a liking to the young master. Alicia smiled. You even call him young master now. It seems that you've recognized him. Vivian scratched the back of her head. Oh. Nathan's expression brightened. Getting trained by such a gentle, bright, and mature elder sister was a reward for him. All right. You can do it. Vivian sighed. After seeing how enthusiastic Nathan became, she had no choice but to leave it to Alicia. Wait a bit here. Vivian returned to the mansion and came out 2 minutes later, tossing a pair of black gloves. They were thin, but Nathan noticed the springiness of the material, which would absorb some impact. There seemed to be an additional metal liner that could block sharp weapons as well. When he wore it and made a gripping motion, his movement was a bit restricted, but not something he couldn't handle. Alicia said, for now, the best way to improve is to attack you until you get used to it, especially stopping you from blinking when an attack comes. It's basically useless to teach you martial arts if you end up closing your eyes. I understand. Nathan thought he would be learning some cool martial arts, but this was the reality. He had to start with his foundation. Alicia walked to the middle of the field while explaining, let's see. For the next week, we'll focus on your basics. You and Fenrir will be fighting me and trying to last for more than 15 minutes. Nathan nodded. I'll be learning a lot from you, Alicia. Little did Nathan know that he was going to regret having Alicia as his teacher because behind that gentle and mature smile was. Bonus chapter. 15 minutes. Nathan muttered. You may start at any time you want. Alicia remained still. Nathan took a deep breath, trying to find his rhythm. Fenrir also prepared himself. His current form wasn't enough to deal with Alicia, so he had to get serious. However, there was one miscalculation that anyone could make regarding Nathan. It was the fact they never expected that his first move was to turn around and run. Yes, he was running away. All of them widened their eyes in disbelief. Did he just run away? Alicia said he needed to last for 15 minutes. In that case, the best way to achieve it was to run. Where are you going? Alicia hurriedly chased after him. When fighting against an opponent much stronger than me, it's better to run away. Nathan shouted without turning back. Ha 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 ha. Vivian was laughing out loud. As she expected, Nathan's way of thinking was surely different. Wait. You can't run away. Your assignment is to fight me. Alicia wanted to use her power to speed up, but Nathan surprised her again by stopping. What? So I can't run away? Yes. We'll be polishing your hand-to-hand combat, so we have to fight. Running away is indeed the correct move in a life-and-death battle, but this is only a spar. Alicia shook her head helplessly. She felt like she was being played with. And that was when Nathan's strike came. I see. If I can't run away, then... All of a sudden, Alicia felt danger coming from behind. She hurriedly turned around, wind forming around her left hand. Whaff! Fenrir let out a small roar, which neutralized the wind around her hand. He came with an open mouth, trying to bite her arm. Alicia knew perfectly how powerful that biting strength was, so she threw herself to the side, causing her to fall. Fenrir landed smoothly and turned around. At the same time, Nathan was also closing in, working together with Fenrir. This was the perfect chance since Alicia hadn't gone up yet. By the time she went back on his feet, Fenrir had already arrived. She kicked him from the bottom, but Fenrir, who was adept in battle, simply perched on her shin before jumping into the air. At the same time, Nathan pulled his fist, his ana concentrating on the gaps between his fingers. That's... Vivian widened her eyes. Alicia instinctively lowered her foot, and raised the two arms to guard. Nathan waved his hand diagonally, as if he were sweeping his claws. His ana was extended like claws, hitting Alicia. Wind swirled around Alicia's arm, which blocked the claws. Still, he managed to catch her off guard, resulting in her deploying her wind a little too late. A scratch appeared on her arm as blood started flowing out of it. At the same time, Fenrir fell on top of her head, and tapped her forehead as if telling her that she would be dead if he used his power. Vivian dropped her jaw, her lips slightly curved. She was shocked and happy. Alicia had restrained herself by not using a bow. In fact, she might only use a small fraction of her true strength in this sparring. At the same time, it didn't change the fact that Alicia should still be stronger than both of them. He baited Alicia to chase after him so that he could position Fenrir behind her. Alicia was too focused on Fenrir's jaw strength, throwing her off balance. Both of them attacked. Fenrir must know that Alicia could block it and choose to escape. Meanwhile, Nathan shouldn't be able to do anything against her unless he managed to catch her off guard. Vivian sucked a cold breath. If this was a normal duel, Nathan would be seen as a coward. However, if this was a life-and-death battle... Vivian closed her eyes. She originally expected that Alicia would beat them up, but while relying on tricks, Nathan still won. It seemed that the disciple she took in was more amazing than she originally thought. Did we win? Nathan asked. Alicia opened her mouth to complain, but the words stuck in her throat. With a wry smile, she said, "Yes, you've won." Oh. Nathan took a step back and retracted his power. Fenrir also jumped off her head. "Still, you're amazing." Alicia pointed at her wound. "You were clueless about summoners, but you already managed to manipulate your ana to this degree. When did you learn that?" On the one hand, he couldn't reveal the truth about the soul contract. It was true that Vivian and Alicia were his teacher and her familiar, but he just met them yesterday. He didn't know what they would do if they found out about him being a familiar, as well as being a person from another world. On the other hand, he didn't think they would accept it if he said, "It's a secret." That was why Nathan pointed at Fenrir and said, "When you used your wind yesterday, I ended up asking him how to do something like that. I tried imitating him yesterday." "Are you serious?" Alicia gasped. Even Vivian came over and asked, "You imitated him? Do you understand what you're saying?" "Yes." Nathan tilted his head in confusion. "I told you earlier that the academy will be teaching you how to control your Aina, right? Looking at you being able to move your Aina already. Are you a genius? What's wrong? Is that not normal?" Nathan's face was innocent, as if he were completely clueless about it. Meanwhile, he also added inwardly, "Yes. This is it. I'll just make them think I'm a genius or something. If it doesn't work, I can always say that it might be because my compatibility with beasts is high that I'm able to do it. It's a perfect excuse if I fail when they ask me to learn something. It took me 3 days to be able to control my Aina." Vivian slapped her forehead before saying, "If you are like this, I might have to change my plan." "Plan?" "Yes. Having power is necessary, but don't be drunk with your power, or it'll be over for you. That's why I want you to solve your own problem without relying on me. Of course, I'll answer any questions you have as your teacher. You are a smart boy, so you can come to me if you think that problem is too big for you to handle. I want you to be independent." "Does that mean I have to hide the fact that I'm your disciple?" "No. If someone asks, you can tell them that you're my disciple. But there's no need to explicitly declare that you are my disciple to all people you meet." "Oh." Nathan nodded. Vivian turned to Alicia. "I'll change the schedule. Instead of training hand-to-hand combat for 2 hours in the morning, use 1 hour to teach him how to properly control Aina. After that, divide the schedule for him to study more about summoners as well as etiquette." "Etiquette?" Nathan pointed at himself dumbfoundedly. "You're my student, so people will know you sooner or later. It's better to have you learn etiquette so that people don't see you like an outcast." Vivian waved her hand while turning around. "Take care of him, Alicia. I'll go back first." "Yes, mistress." As ordered, Alicia really took care of him. Whether it was because she lost or because he was on a higher level than she thought, she definitely fought Nathan for real. Nathan was beaten to pulp. At the same time, he couldn't deny that his eyes closed themselves out of reflex when he was about to get hit. The training gradually made him get used to it, which allowed him to gradually keep his eyes open. After that training, Alicia taught the basics of Aina manipulation for an hour. He could use Deadly Claw because it was Fenrir's ability. He never understood the Aina manipulation itself. He ended up using compatibility as an excuse for his failure. Still, it might be because he could use Deadly Claws multiple times that he managed to learn it in 2 days. There was also an etiquette and dancing lesson, which was a bit annoying for Nathan. Nevertheless, he had made a decision to live as Vivian's student, so this was just the consequence of that choice. 1 week later, Nathan finally arrived at his dorm. Due to the school's rules, he had to live alone in the dorm. Whether they were a noble or a prince, they were no exception. Every person got a similar room. It was a small room with a bed, a shelf, a table, and a chair. I have expected it, but this is truly small. It is actually smaller than my room back on Earth. Nathan smiled wryly. Well, this will be a perfect start for me. I'm not exiled from the dorm or hated by a lot of students anyway. As he placed his luggage, he grabbed the school uniform hanging on the wall. The school uniform consisted of a white shirt, long white pants, and a white blazer with a huge embroidered badge on the chest. I have to attend the opening ceremony after this. He immediately changed his clothes and headed to the grand hall. While heading toward the hall, he noticed that there were a lot of buildings around him, one bigger than the other. He had been walking for a few minutes, but he hadn't even reached the hall yet. Where is the grand hall again? Are you sure this is an academy instead of a labyrinth? Nathan muttered while looking at the map Alicia drew for him. It was just a rough sketch, which gave him the general direction of where he should go. Are you a new student? An aged voice echoed from the right, startling Nathan. Why yes. Nathan looked at the old man. He was holding a broom like a janitor. There was supposed to be nothing special about him. However, Alicia didn't only train him in combat, but also woke up his survival instinct. And that very instinct was telling him he was dangerous, much more dangerous than Alicia. What is this? A hidden boss or something? Nathan thought. He said, yes, hello. I am a new student. I'm wondering where the hall is. If you are looking for the grand hall, you should continue forward and take the right after that white building. Thank you. Nathan nodded and hurriedly walked away. Fortunately, there was only one building right after he turned right. As soon as he entered, he could see about 400 students. He couldn't recognize most of them, so they must be upperclassmen. Hello. Are you a freshman? A sweet lady approached him. Yes. In that case, please go to the middle. She pointed at the seats located in the center. Now that he thought about it, the seats were divided into 7. 6 of them were located on the edge, while the last one was in the center of the hall. He thought about getting a random seat, after making sure the blonde guy who kept mocking him wasn't in the same row. In fact, he was the only person in this row like an outcast until a certain black-haired girl took a seat next to him. Nathan was baffled. Someone like her would usually sit at the front along with other nobles. Hello. Selena politely greeted Nathan. I forgot to say it last time, but thank you for helping me. Oh. It's not a problem. Please don't worry about it. Nathan thought it was special, but it turned out she just wanted to thank him. Still, because they were sitting in the middle of the hall, Nathan could sense the gazes of others from all directions. In fact, he could overhear some of them. So they are the freshmen. There are a lot of famous students, such as August Reeves from the Blacksmith Guild. I heard that his first summon is a dwarf. He might be able to summon an elder dwarf once he gets stronger. Yeah. There is also Prince Rudius, who manages to summon a cyclops. In the future, he should be able to summon a great demon. We can't ignore Selena Ashton from that vampire family. If I'm not wrong, that vampire has the potential of a countess. It won't be weird if she summons a vampire duke before she graduates. It seems that the standard of this year has risen. Risen? No way. I heard that there is a student who has the worst talent. Worst talent? Yeah. During the awakening, he summoned a beast. A beast. Not a humanoid creature. His talent couldn't even summon a goblin. How did he get accepted? Was his family a great noble? No. He was from a normal farmer family. What? Did he cheat or something? I don't know. Maybe some teachers are just trying to use him as an experiment to see what's wrong with his body to make his talent the worst. Ha 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 ha. He won't survive in this academy for long. Yeah. He'll definitely be targeted by many. He'll be destroyed in the Summoner's War. Nathan remained calm the whole time despite listening to their nonsense. With a smile on his face, he thought, what a cliché conversation. I guess the reason why our seats are in the middle is so that the upperclassmen can observe us, or more like, observe their prey. Summoner's War, huh? We'll welcome the principal to give the opening speech. Nathan raised his head. His teacher was the vice principal, so he wondered what the principal looked like. And the one who actually came to the stage was none other than the old janitor who gave him the direction earlier. Ah. A lot of freshmen were stunned as they had seen them. Their reactions varied. Some were afraid as though they had messed up. Some were admiring him as if they never thought that someone as famous as him would disguise himself as a lowly janitor. The principal's eyes were as gentle as what they saw, but the moment he opened his mouth, all his words contradicted those eyes. Summoners. This is a divine ability that we awaken to save this world. No one knows how our body can suddenly awaken Aina. Some people said it's because of the bloodline, but it can't explain everything. If your parents are both summoners, their children will have more potential to awaken as summoners. However, not all children are like that. In the end, all of us summoners are the chosen ones. The principal's speech had raised their ego. They believed their talents were much better than most of them, which made them think that they were elite among the chosen ones. We are special. The principal smiled, confirming their thoughts. However, all that was destroyed the moment the principal raised his voice. Wrong. In my eyes, you are as useless as normal people. Why? It's simple. Because all of you are too weak. In this world, strength reigns supreme. The alien race that attacks us. They can destroy us at any time, if we don't have power. The people besides you. They can easily surpass you if they gain more strength. If you don't like what I say today, force me to take back my words. If you don't have the strength, it's impossible. If you want to change your fate, being a summoner is not enough. There is always a sky above the sky. There are limited resources in this world. Even in history, humans fought each other numerous times to get access to those limited resources. Throughout history, humans and conflicts have always gone side by side. You couldn't change the true nature of humans. At the same time, it was through those difficult times that we were able to create strong men. We created weapons and advanced our technologies. When the alien races came, we grew even stronger with this summoning ability. This academy is no different. If you think you're going to experience a peaceful education, you can pack your luggage and go back to your home. All the freshmen must have seen your rooms. You don't like it? Use your strength to get a better room. Monthly, the school will provide you with 30 proto-class cores. Not enough. Get it with other means. As a summoner of Phyrexia Academy, you only need to know 3 things. The people behind you are those you need to protect, the people besides you are your peers as well as your rival, and those in front of you are the challenges you need to overcome. If you want something, challenge that person to a duel between 2 summoners. This is the tradition of our Phyrexia Academy, the Summoners' War. Grow stronger and defeat your peers so that you can challenge those aliens out there, crushing them in this war. Nathan's expression turned grim. He muttered inwardly, he has given up trying to change the students even though we have common enemies. No matter what, those nobles might use their family's strength to add further conflict. Hence, he uses it to force the students to grow stronger. If they're too weak to challenge them, they have to kill a bunch of aliens to get stronger. Even those students from noble families will get more cores to grow stronger, meaning that their families would probably need to kill a bunch of aliens to do that. What a ridiculous method. However, I can agree on one thing. Conflicts do hasten humanity's progress. Even back on Earth, the World Wars or even the Cold War, while causing numerous deaths, increased their progress by leaps and bounds. Despite having that gentle smile, he has given up on humanity. The principal stated, the freshmen are immune to any challenges from their upperclassmen for 6 months. Do your best to survive. The new students couldn't help but suck a cold breath. They finally understood that in front of these upperclassmen, they were nothing but prey they could devour in 6 months. Still, some of the students weren't afraid of them. They believed they could surpass those seniors with their strength or influence. But what was more ridiculous was that the freshmen were thinking about devouring people around them. Yes, Nathan could feel gazes from his classmates. The principal only banned the upperclassmen from attacking. He didn't say anything about the freshmen fighting among themselves. We'll welcome the vice principal to say a word or two. Unlike the principal, Vivian's speech was rather short. She only said, there are multiple ways of becoming stronger or getting resources. Don't limit yourself, be creative, and become bold enough to do it. We'll give you a badge symbolizing the Phyrexia Academy after this. It has 3 major functions. It allows you to access the teleportation portals for free. If you show the badge to any Axia in branches all around the world, you will be able to stay for free. Of course, only for the normal rooms. If you want the best rooms, you have to fight for them. Last but not least, the badge will also become your identity for the Universal Bank. You can store and withdraw your money from all over the world. An elder dwarf is responsible for making the badges. It'll be bound to you by blood, which can only be activated by you alone. Once you're dead, the badge will lose its effect. That's why, do your best to survive, students. Nathan was fiddling with his badge. He didn't know why, but Selena had been following him around for some reason. Even after going to the class, she ended up choosing the seat next to him. His eyebrows were twitching as he couldn't help but ask, "Why are you following me around?" Selena glanced at him for a moment before saying with an expressionless face, "We're simply going to the same place. Besides, I sat here during the test." "Then, how about during the opening ceremony? There were a lot of empty seats. You were the only one in that row, so I sat there to avoid other students." Nathan couldn't refute those words. While it was true that sitting next to a pretty girl was much better than sitting next to an annoying dude, he simply got a lot of stares from other students. In the end, if he had to say, she would be one of the most beautiful girls in this class. She even came from a noble family, so it wouldn't be weird if they were aiming for her. While he didn't mind problems, he just didn't want to deal with unnecessary ones. "All right. I'll take my seat elsewhere. It's better for you to sit alone since no one can bother you, right?" Nathan stood up. Selena's body twitched. Before she could say anything, the unnecessary problem that Nathan mentioned earlier ended up coming. It was the blonde guy who had been mocking him the whole time. "Yo, lowly farmer. I will challenge you to a summoner's war. A lowly farmer doesn't need an alien core. Give it to me." "Aw shit." Nathan was burning on the inside. He didn't have any memories about him, so he thought there was no way he had humiliated him or something. Why would this person choose to pick a fight with him? Nathan sighed. "Dude. Let's not do this, shall we? You lowly farmer dare to reject my challenge? You don't know who I am. I'm the 3rd son of Baron Rysant, Raven Rysant. You are merely a commoner." Nathan was speechless. He had never thought that it was happening. Is this the rumored brain-rot young master syndrome? But Rysant. If I'm not wrong, the lord of the territory this original body comes from is Baron Rysant. Is he perhaps coming from the same territory? And for some shitty pride, he's planning to crush me or something. It might be, but I guess I should learn more about the political situation of this place as well as how the nobles behave before I draw a conclusion. I hope not everyone is like him, or the world would be doomed. Well, I can still use him for something. I don't know how many times I get angry whenever I read this cliché trope in novels. To think it's more annoying when I experience it firsthand. I should probably blame the principal for encouraging him. He didn't have any sign of doing this before that speech. Nathan contemplated. There were several pros and cons to accepting this duel. Beating him up should stop some people from targeting him, since they would choose a weaker target. Nathan glanced at Raven while saying, "According to the rules, you need to put up something for the match." "Humph. It's only 30 cores." Raven snorted. "I am just a lowly farmer. And the mighty noble son is planning to bully a lowly farmer with just 30 cores. Don't you think it's fair? A lowly farmer dares to negotiate with me." Raven clenched his hands into fists. "This lowly farmer is the one putting in effort to fill your belly. Other commoners are the ones creating the clothes you make, the mansion you live in, or the ones taking care of your place. Once all of us, lowly commoners, are gone, what can you do, respected noble?" "You." Raven clenched his hands into fists. He wanted to hit Nathan, but doing it would just prove him right. What do you want? 150 cores. You need to put 150 cores on the line if you want to fight me. That should be enough for the gap between us, said Nathan with a cold tone. Raven was trying his best to hold back his anger. He never thought that Nathan would dare to talk back to him. If a rich noble can't even afford that much, you can forget about it. Nathan harumphed, planning to leave his seat. However, Raven said, fine. We'll fight today. I'll be the referee to that duel. Jason's voice suddenly echoed inside the classroom. Both Raven and Nathan were stunned. Jason said it in a way as if a duel right at the bat wasn't something unusual. Take your seat. I'll be starting the class. Raven snorted. Since it had been settled, he had nothing more to say. Still, he would definitely beat Nathan so hard for his insolence against him. Due to the ruckus they had, their summoner's war had actually garnered the attention of a lot of students in the class. Most of them thought that Nathan would be the first sacrifice to understand the summoner's war. Meanwhile, Nathan was slightly annoyed that he couldn't change seats. This challenge might not be related to her, but if he didn't escape from it, he was afraid that there would be a lot of people challenging him because of her. Jason slapped the table, the sound grabbing the attention of the students. I'll be the teacher in charge of this class for the next 1 year. My name is Jason. Out of 130 people who took the test, 86 of you have been accepted. As the vice principal said during her speech, there are a lot of ways to receive resources from the school. One of them is to get a good result in the lessons. For the next 7 days, I'll be teaching you ana manipulation. There will be both a written test and a practical test. 5 people who manage to get the top scores for each test will be rewarded with 20 protoclass cores. This is in order to prepare you for what's to come. In 2 weeks, you'll be going on a field trip. I'll give you the details after this week's material is done, but take this class seriously with that trip in mind. Any questions? Teacher. One of the students raised his hand. What does protoclass mean? We have categorized the aliens into several groups according to their physical abilities, intelligence, regeneration, and so on. The weakest is the protoclass alien, which is still in its developmental stage, causing it to have minor strength enhancement and limited intelligence. You will be able to find it after you kill the alien. Swallowing those cores will increase your ana. In the second week, I'll be training your physical abilities for the trip. If you don't have any more questions, we'll proceed to ana manipulation. Nathan and Raven were standing in the middle of the arena. Most of the students in the class decided to see this match. They were curious what Nathan could do against Raven. Even though his petty character was problematic, it didn't change the fact that his familiar was much stronger than Nathan. I guess the commoners dare to go against nobles just because they think they're the chosen ones. Prince Rudius muttered. Even though Raven Risent is not among the very top, he should be among the top 20 of our class. I guess we will only see a one-sided beating. August sighed. He tilted his head to the right and said, What do you think, Selena? You're the one sitting next to him during the whole class. Selena remained silent, watching Nathan as if she knew something big would happen. Jason glanced at both sides. I have confirmed the bet. If Raven wins, he will receive 30 protoclass cores. If Nathan wins, he will receive 150 protoclass cores. If you don't have anything to add, summon your familiars. This is the difference between you and me. Come out. Raven shouted. A dark, swirling mist began to coalesce. The darkness thickened, forming a shadowy silhouette that loomed over the summoner. The figure was both formless and terrifying, filled with malevolence. The mist solidified further, revealing its skeleton form, cloaked in tattered shrouds of darkness. A pair of bloodshot eyes flashed, gazing upon Nathan as if sending an invitation to the underworld. Several students shivered just from looking at it, so they couldn't imagine what Nathan was feeling when making eye contact. This is my wraith. Something that you can't even dream of getting. Raven shouted before laughing. Something I can't dream of getting, huh? It might be true to some extent. Nathan smiled, knowing that he didn't want something weaker after getting Fenrir. Besides, the wraith might look scary, but surprisingly he wasn't afraid. Alicia is scarier, right? This one is disgusting, not scary. Fenrir's heavy voice resounded as a small wolf manifested next to him. The others covered their eyes as if they had already known the result of this fight. Compared to the wraith, Fenrir looked much cuter and harmless. However, Fenrir said, I've seen something similar to them, no, much scarier than them in Helheim. Nathan smiled. Raven was gnashing his teeth, swearing that he would erase that smile from Nathan's face as he beat him up. Start. Jason shouted. Go. Raven waved his hand down. The wraith flew toward Nathan. When Nathan was about to move, skeletal hands suddenly emerged from the ground and grabbed his legs. You can't escape. Raven smirked. Nathan looked down, his face remaining calm. The wraith was approaching him with the intention to defeat him. Seal his mouth. Raven shouted. Two skeletal hands appeared on the back of Nathan's head and closed his mouth, stopping Nathan to surrender. This is the price that you will need to pay for looking down on me. Jason was ready to stop the match since he thought he was the only one knowing about Nathan being Vivian's disciple. Meanwhile, other students either sneered or looked away, believing that the match was over. Little did they know, Nathan was actually angry. He was screaming inwardly, is this summoner war a fucking joke to you? After giving the deadly claw to Nathan, Fenrir had 3 abilities left. Nathan knew that the first and second abilities were that bark and his extraordinary senses respectively. This time, he didn't do anything because he knew Fenrir would be using his third ability. Waff! Fenrir barked. The sound wave hit the wraith, causing the wraith's stomach area to disperse. This attack proved one thing to Fenrir. It was the fact that the wraith's body was made of Aina. The wraith slowed down to recover, but Fenrir didn't give the wraith the time it needed. Before the dark mist gathered again, Fenrir leaped toward the wraith. It was true that Fenrir's current form was extremely weak. During the terrorist attack, Selena's vampire was much stronger than Fenrir in terms of ability. If not for the fact that Nathan cleverly chose his timing to attack, he wouldn't produce such a good result. However, this wraith was simply too weak compared to Selena's vampire. In addition, Fenrir had leveled up. The chance of this wraith stopping him was 0. Fenrir's tail was glowing in white. The moment he waved his tail, the light expanded, turning into a crescent moon and slashing the wraith into 2. The wraith let out a deep growl while trying to merge into one again. Fenrir inhaled deeply before barking. Waff! The body that was about to merge suddenly dispersed in all directions. As a result, the hands that were holding Nathan disappeared into thin air. What? Ravian flinched. Other students also opened their mouths in surprise, never expecting that the wolf they thought to be inferior to a goblin actually defeated the wraith. Only Selena had her expression brighten, as if she knew this would happen. Now that he was freed, Nathan ordered with a cold tone, Fenrir. Do it. Fenrir heard it but didn't reply. He simply closed in at fast speed. Ravian took a step back. He had no way to stop Fenrir. Before he could say anything, Fenrir jumped toward his face and hit Ravian on the left cheek with every ounce of his strength. That attack caused his bones to vibrate before his body was blown away. Bam! He crashed to the wall, 2 teeth falling off and his eyes rolling back. Fenrir couldn't help but look at the paw that slapped Ravian earlier, recalling what Nathan said before the match. During the match, when there's a chance, I want you to slap him on the face as hard as possible. Why? He was confused by that sudden request. The first reason is a secret, and you will find out the second reason once you do it. Now that he had done it, Fenrir couldn't help but say, well, that was oddly satisfying. I should have done that back in Asgard. Nathan wins, Jason hurriedly declared after that slap. He waved his hand to the staff standing outside the arena. Hurry up and bring him to the infirmary. The students stood up, staring at Fenrir with stunned faces. He won. What? How can this be? That wolf is not weaker than a goblin. That slap alone can rival an orc. He is actually not weak. Most people couldn't believe it, but some regained their composure almost immediately. So it's not about talent. Prince Rydius squinted his eyes with a sly smile on his face. Nathan, huh? It seems that I have to keep an eye on him. Selena stood up and walked away. August was staring at Nathan while muttering, now that you've done this, you will definitely make an enemy of not only Raven but also his family as well as the people who are currying favor with him. Nathan's face remained calm. He wasn't proud of this victory, nor did he intend to. In fact, the only feeling he had currently was anger. He coldly left the area without sparing another glance at Raven. Curious, Fenrir asked, so what is the first reason? Nathan shook his head helplessly. It is to humiliate him. To think you're that kind of person. Fenrir looked disappointed until Nathan added, no. It's to understand the people in this world. Huh? Fenrir tilted his head. Yeah. I want to see how petty the people of this world are. I've read in a lot of stories that if you beat them, their elder brothers will come. You beat their elder brothers, their uncles or parents will come out. That's kind of dumb. I know, right? Nathan sighed. I just hope they're not that foolish. While that slap was humiliating, it was something that could easily be solved. But what if you're wrong? You would face endless trouble from now on. Not that I mind since I can fight a lot of opponents. That's why he is a perfect target. A baron, the lowest class of nobility. A single warning should be enough for them. Your teacher. Fenrir finally understood Nathan's plan. She will probably forgive me and handle it personally for my first mistake. At the same time, with this experiment, I'll know how I should deal with the situation in the future. Fenrir never thought Nathan had seen that far ahead. No matter how annoying Nathan's attitude could be, Fenrir couldn't deny that Nathan's action was impeccable. Besides, while you don't mind a challenge, I doubt you will like it when people keep bothering you. For example, what you want is to fight strong opponents. Meanwhile, what if there are 100 mosquitoes coming at you again and again, which causes you to not have much time for other things? Fenrir couldn't refute his words. I see. Fair enough. Now that I know the reason, I'll go back. Yep. Nathan nodded as he saw Fenrir disappearing into thin air. There was another reason why Fenrir disappeared though. All of a sudden, Selena stood in the middle of the corridor, as if she had been waiting for him. Nathan couldn't help but furrow his eyebrows. I have something to ask. Selena was the first to break the silence. Is there something wrong? Why do you not say anything even though you are stronger than him? Is it fun to be humiliated? What do you mean? Or I suppose I should ask you, is there a reason why I have to say it? Selena's expression darkened. I know that you have become the vice principal's disciple. If you just mentioned it, you would have gotten out of the trouble. Did she know it because of Alicia? Nathan thought before replying, will he believe it? That's. I'll answer it for you. No, he won't. The class will probably think the same. If you are in the same situation as the others, will you actually stop me here? Selena couldn't say anything. After all, he didn't say anything wrong. If that's all, I'll take my leave here. Nathan stepped to the side before continuing his way. However, Selena suddenly reached for his arm, stopping him. Nathan frowned. Talking with a beautiful girl was definitely pleasing, but she was just a bit persistent. I'm sorry. Selena lowered her head. I know that I don't have the right to stop you, but could I borrow some of your time? If I'm not wrong, she is also from a noble family, right? She is actually lowering her head. To a farmer boy to boot. Moved by her sincerity, Nathan turned around once again. I hope that you can tell me your answers you've written for the admission test. My answer. Yes. People might think low of you because they believe that your summoning ability is much inferior to theirs. Hence, the fact that you can become the vice principal's disciple must be related to the written test. I apologize if this sounds offensive, but I can't see any reason how you're able to answer those tests, because you are a farmer from the countryside with no access to knowledge about summoners. Did she deduce all that by herself? Nathan was taken aback. There should be no problem revealing your answers since the test won't repeat. And I'll properly compensate you. Nathan thought for a moment. Vivian didn't say anything regarding the answer. Besides, all of them were just bullshit. Only someone like Vivian could use it for her research or something. Getting a favor from a noble like her would definitely benefit him, especially since Vivian wanted him to be independent. Fine. This was Nathan's decision. Selena's eyes were filled with excitement. When they were about to leave, Alicia's voice suddenly echoed across the corridor. Young master. Mistress is looking for you. Nathan glanced back, finding Alicia. He smiled wryly. I'll write it down and give it to you later. It's fine, right? Selena's expression darkened, but there was nothing she could do but nod her head. Yeah, I'm coming. Nathan walked to Alicia. Ah. Did I perhaps disturb you? Alicia took a glimpse of Selena playfully. No. Nathan shook his head, but before he walked away, he said to Selena. About your first question. I only have one answer. I don't need to prove anything to anyone. Selena was taken aback by the answer, but her face immediately hung low while muttering, no need to prove, huh? If only it was that simple. Why did you beat him so hard? Vivian covered her eyes with her right hand. Do you think you're cool just because of it? Nathan frowned. He wanted to test Vivian's character, as well to see whether she would be a good teacher or not. She might be strong or something, but if she was the type of person who abandoned her disciple, or was just a full hypocrite, he would create a line between them. I beat him that hard to show others that I'm strong. It's not about cool or something. It's about stopping people from bothering me. I know that Fenrir is not a humanoid familiar, but I don't want people to cause unnecessary problems just for that very reason. Even if you manage to do it today, people might not think of it that way in the future. Vivian raised a finger. And there will be some people paying attention to you. They'll be troublesome to handle. I'm aware of it. At the same time, they're not the only people. Those who are interested in me. As you said, I have to be independent. If I want to have all the resources I need as well as create a connection, I have to show my strength as well. Nathan shook his head helplessly. Vivian fell silent after hearing his reasoning. She only added, well, I'll be warning the Baron to not touch my disciple. However, you should have shown a weaker performance. If I do that, people will just come at me. That's exactly my point. Get some people to challenge you to a summoner's war, extort them, and get a bunch of cores. Nathan was speechless. If it was just to prove his strength, fighting several people would definitely give him more cores. Nathan had thought about this option before but chose to show his strength right away. After all, this was a test for Vivian. He said, is the summoner's war that the principal mentioned a joke? Ho! Vivian's eyes turned cold. If you're going to mock the principal, even I might not be able to protect you. I apologize. Nathan shook his head helplessly. What I want to truly say is that, when there are common enemies in front of us, why would the humans keep fighting each other instead of uniting? When you are on the front lines, why do you need to watch for an attack from your sides or even from behind? Who will suffer because of that conflict? The common people. The answer blew Alicia's mind. Even Vivian was tongue-tied. For me, the duel between two summoners can't even be called a war, added Nathan. After regaining her composure, a smile appeared on Vivian's face. However, it was filled with happiness and pity. Your path will cause you to be alone, you know. Does humanity have to face extinction first to understand the meaning of common enemy? Vivian waved her hand. No. I'm just saying that this is the reason why we know the 7 sins can be simplified to one word: stupidity. Those who have it will try to become the head and control over the people like you. At the same time, if you try to change them from within, you will probably either die as a hero or live long enough to become the same as them. I'm not saying your path is wrong. However, I just want you to know about one thing. What is your goal as a summoner? Believe in it and never lose your path. Vivian looked at the ceiling in reminiscence. I hope you can become such a person. Nathan closed his eyes. He could understand what kind of person Vivian was with this conversation. She was probably the same person as him, but ended up losing and becoming the person she originally hated. Take this. Vivian tossed a hand-sized crystal. Nathan barely caught it with both hands. It was a double-terminated crystal with a transparent color like quartz. What is this? Try to infuse the crystal with your Aina. As soon as Nathan followed her instruction, there were particles appearing inside the crystals. They were floating still, but there were a lot of them. Suddenly, a small magic circle embedded on the crystal's surface lit up and projected a number. 21. So your Aina is 21 points. Vivian nodded in understanding. Is this? Nathan was dumbfounded. Yeah. That crystal was what I came up with after listening to your answer. Unfortunately, it could only measure people who don't have a lot of Aina as of now. After all, it's going to be hard to accurately measure the amount of Aina of someone like me. We also need a huge crystal for that. Vivian shrugged. 21, huh? Nathan muttered inwardly. Fenrir took 30% of the remaining Aina, which must be 30 at that point. And he said he took half of my Aina for the original summoning, meaning that my Aina was originally 60 points. It's much easier to understand now. You get 150 cores from the match, along with your 30 cores. I want you to record the number of Aina you will have after swallowing all those cores. Of course, it'll be better if you record it one by one. This way, I can create a general amount of Aina you can get from a protoclass core. Also, as thanks for your idea, I'll be adding you as my co-author for this project. Nathan shook his head. I'm grateful for your appreciation, but I don't think my name deserves to be there. No can do. If I can't even be fair with my disciple, why would I even take you as my student? This is also so that people will recognize you more. If that's the case, why don't you add that you get inspiration after getting an absurd answer from a certain student? Once people know about me being your disciple, I think they will understand the connection sooner or later. Nathan suggested while adding inwardly, by that time, I should understand the world enough to know what I should do in case I get into trouble because of it. Vivian nodded. All right. In 2 weeks, you are going to Tevlin Forest with your classmates. It is to experience the fight against alien symbiotes for the first time. The teacher and his familiars will be watching over, so it should be pretty safe, but don't hold back. For now, you can go back to your dorm and continue with the lessons. I understand. Nathan politely bowed before taking his leave. Once he left, Alicia couldn't help but smile. It seems that you're pretty happy with his answer, mistress. Do I look that way? Vivian scratched the back of her head. Well, I don't really understand him. Sometimes he is just like a normal kid, having naughty thoughts here and there. Other times, he is like a different person. Still, I hope that he can grow as much as possible in the next 1 month. Yeah. It'll be time for him to summon his second familiar. If his second familiar is also an animal, it means he is different from anyone else. If his second familiar is a humanoid creature, it means this is just a coincidence. Vivian nodded. If it's the former, there might be a lot of people interested in him. I'm not going to let any of them have him. Vivian snorted. Nathan was sitting on his bed, staring at all 180 cores he'd got. He crossed his legs while saying, according to the instruction manual, I'm supposed to swallow this core. The cores had a round shape and a pale gray color. Each of them was as small as a candy. They didn't produce any smell. Are you going to swallow it now? Fenrir asked. Yes. Normally, we would have to split these cores, but I guess I should be the one swallowing all of these. Your quality is higher than mine, so you obviously need to be the one. But recording this process will allow your teacher to compare it with other students' results, you know that. Yep. The result might vary, but there's simply no way for her to test one's aptitude. If I'm different, I'll just say that it's your fault. That's the reason I summon a beast instead of a humanoid familiar or something. Nathan shrugged. Fair enough. In that case, hurry up and swallow them. If you get stronger, I also want more Aina so that I can use more of my abilities. I know. Nathan nodded. He grabbed one of them and put it into his mouth. It doesn't have a taste. I feel like I'm eating gum that has no more flavor in it. Nathan muttered. Unlike the chewy gum, the core gradually melted like ice. The fluid was gradually entering his throat. His heart rate and body temperature increased gradually. Phew. Nathan inhaled deeply, adjusting his breathing. It was uncomfortable. It felt like there were ants crawling outside his stomach, lasting for a minute. Fenrir was staring at him carefully, making sure nothing dangerous occurred or resided in Nathan's body. After the itchy sensation died out, his heart rate went back to normal. The whole time, Nathan was just holding onto his stomach while closing his eyes, enduring the weird sensation. Phew. Nathan let out a long sigh. It's really uncomfortable. At least, it's not painful. Why don't you just take a lot of them and eat them all at once? Fenrir asked. I can't do that. Nathan crossed his arms. According to the book, if you take several of them at once, it can indeed increase the process. However, it'll also increase your heart rate and body temperature drastically. If the person passes out, in the best scenario, they might be let off with their body not absorbing the Aina. In the worst-case scenario, there might be some complications. There is a record about a person taking a lot of cores at once. His heart beat so quickly that it exploded. His body was fried up from the inside. Because of that incident, they recommended people take one at a time, and wait until the body returns to normal before taking another one. It took me about a minute to process everything and another minute to calm down. So in an hour, I could only take 30 cores. I guess I will only swallow 60 cores every day. I have to spend the rest of my time developing my muscles. Nathan ended his explanation with a tired sigh. Good. I won't be the only one who fights. Fenrir nodded with a grin. I know. All summoners have to build up some stamina as well. If they're tired, the enemies can take advantage of that. That's probably what they're trying to do next week. Nathan rose from the bed and grabbed the crystal. As soon as he infused his Aina, he got 22. Well, it seems that one core gives you only 1 point. Who knows? There is no decimal point here. I believe it'll be different. My quality right now is high-tier basic. I might get more if I have better quality. Nathan wrote it down for the record. Anyway, I will continue. Nathan grabbed another core and swallowed it. Now that he understood the sensation, he could resist it a bit better. The more cores he swallowed, the more resistance would build up. At the same time, noting down every progress took a bit more time, which caused him to only swallow a total of 45 cores in 2 hours from the original 60 cores. Nevertheless, the record had given enough information about the proto-class cores. While looking at the number, Nathan said, it seems that each core is giving me about 1 point for Aina since it increases from 21 to 84. The increase itself is consistent, so I guess each core contains the same amount of ana. So how much ana will you get after swallowing the rest? Fenrir asked. Should be about 189 if I calculate it correctly. It means I'll have a total of 273 ana points after swallowing it all, about 4.5 times of my original ana before summoning you. Great. The problem is how much ana do I need to unlock my abilities? My level is 13, so I can't really be reckless since I don't want to make another contract recklessly since I'll lose another ability. Fenrir frowned. I don't know. Anyway, I'll be writing down all the answers I've written previously for Selena, and studying for the rest of the day. Before that, why don't you check your own level? It's said that summoned familiars can increase their levels by absorbing the cores, right? Fenrir asked. Now that you mention it. Nathan almost forgot about it. Fenrir managed to increase his quality by increasing his level, so if he somehow surpasses basic quality and reaches the good quality, the amount of ana he can get from each core might be different. With that in mind, Nathan went to the mirror. Name, Nathan Reckmoon. Level, 3. Race, human. Quality, basic, high. I level up too. But if I give you my ana, will my level drop? Nathan frowned. Probably. But I don't think it'll go down to 0. After all, your initial level should be 1 with 60 ana. Fair enough. Nathan nodded in agreement. If that's the case, my quality can increase and decrease depending on how much ana I have. It makes summoning familiar more complex. True. With your current rate, you get 70 ana with 50 cores. But if your quality increases, and you somehow get 80 ana with 50 cores, it might not be significant at first, but it'll be in the long run. Fenrir nodded. But if you're too greedy, it'll also cause our growth to be slow as well. I know. I'll just put more thoughts into it, not becoming greedy or paranoid. Nathan waved his left hand, his other hand writing down the answers. I've written down everything. Nathan handed over the paper to Selena. Selena skimmed the answer for a bit, only to be shocked by such a different perspective. The more she read about it, the more she realized why Vivian accepted him as her student. Well, I'll get going. Nathan didn't bother with her anymore. He never thought that Selena would be waiting in the corridor leading to the class as if preventing him from escaping. Selena's body twitched as she immediately said, "Please wait. I haven't asked you about the reward. How do you want me to compensate you?" You was what Nathan wanted to say, but he hadn't really thought about it. I don't know. Selena thought for a moment. The answers themselves might not be important, but the way he thought was valuable. Getting this answer allowed her to understand the kind of perspective valued by Vivian. I don't think I can give you money. How about I pair up with you during the trip? This trip should be about hunting those invaders, so going together will increase our chance to produce a good result. That was a good solution, but at the same time, there were a few things that Nathan wanted to try during this hunt. Hence, he said, rather than that, how about equipment for training? Selena tilted her head in confusion. Can't you ask your teacher for it? Nathan replied with a shake on the head. Sadly, I can't give you anything related to money. Selena looked disappointed in herself. It seemed that she had made a rash decision when asking Nathan to write down his test's answers. On the other hand, Nathan thought about another thing. In that case, there is something that you can help. What is it? Selena's eyes lit up. Teach me everything about the world, such as political situations, nobles, and other stuff. As someone from a noble family, you should know about them, right? Nathan was so busy with his summoner study that he didn't even know the kingdom in which he currently resided. But I don't think this is fair for you. You think it's not fair, but I think it's fair. Nathan shrugged. Well, that's about it. How does after school in the library sound? I understand. When Nathan was about to leave, Selena opened her mouth. Thank you. Nathan just waved his hand. Little did she know, the reason why Nathan thought it was fair was because teaching him about nobles would take a few days. She would also still feel indebted to him. If they became friends, she was still from a noble family, so there might be other things she could help with in the future. As soon as Nathan entered the class, there was a momentary silence, all eyes observing him. I have expected this, but their stares hurt. Nathan thought while walking to his seat. Considering he was going to have another study session with Selena, it was probably fine to sit next to her. Is it him? He really beat Raven? Yeah. I don't think it was a coincidence. So his wolf was actually stronger than a wraith. Well, the only thing different from him was his summoned familiar. We didn't know about its strength or talent. True. If they were strong, wouldn't that mean he was just unique? These people were only whispering to each other, none daring enough to come to him. However, they sure paid a lot of attention to him. Before taking his seat, his vision shifted a bit to the person he beat yesterday. Raven's eyes were filled with hatred. There were several students that he needed to ask for their cores because he couldn't procure enough cores to challenge Nathan right away yesterday, which put the blame on him. It seems that he is such a person. This is going to be a headache. At the very least, I have to wait to see the response of the Baron to understand whether I have to eliminate him or not. Nathan thought. Just like Nathan, Raven had a similar thought about eliminating him. Just you wait. After my father knows about this, he will take revenge against you. Your family will die before your eyes. You'll definitely pay for humiliating me. Or so Raven thought, not what his father thought. Ryzen territory. My lord. We have received a letter from the young master saying that he has been bullied by his classmate. There are some strange things in the letter. Raven's father, Xavier Rysant, was a middle-aged man with rather kind eyes. While turning around, Xavier frowned. Bullied? Yes. It seemed that the young master challenged this guy and was defeated. Who was the other person? The son of a farmer in our territory. It was said that he was taken into the academy when someone spotted him to have an ana inside his body. According to the report, it was said that his talent was much lower than anyone else in the academy because he summoned not a humanoid familiar but an animal. An animal? Xavier thought for a moment. Why does it sound contradictory? First, he challenged his peers because he believed that his talent was weaker. Yet he still lost against him in a fair duel, right? It did seem so. If that was the case, it wasn't that the farmer boy was weaker, but he was different. I knew Raven's talent. To defeat someone like him would mean that the farmer boy's strength was among the top of his class. That's... The butler paused for a moment. How should I reply to the young master? He is asking for our help to kill him and his parents. Why did he even bother to challenge someone? If he stemmed from this territory, he should have befriended him. That farmer boy might even work for us in the future. The butler scratched the back of his head. Just say it. Xavier glared at the butler. It was probably the madam, sir. She probably felt threatened and tried to manipulate the young master to hate that person. Is she dumb? Xavier's eyebrows twitched. The butler didn't dare to say anything. Do you know what's the most terrifying thing in this world? Xavier let out a long sigh. It's the unknown. The less information we have, the more we think that they are stronger. They might be able to do this, that, or whatever. The fact that he was able to defeat him meant that he was strong, just unique. And that kind of uniqueness would definitely pique the interest of even stronger parties. I told him to stay quiet for a while and checked everyone's strength and background before doing anything. I bet that someone would definitely take him in just because of that uniqueness, whether it was to understand him or experiment with him. That's... The butler gulped down. There were 2 letters. One was from the young master that explained the situation from his perspective, and the other one was from Vice Principal Vivian, Xavier's breath became heavy, trying his best to hold back his anger. Tell me. Have I been so busy recently that I have been too lenient that everyone thinks they can do as they please? Xavier exuded killing intent. A dark mist leaked out of his body as it gradually formed a giant wraith. Unlike Raven's wraith, this one was holding a scythe as if it were a reaper. Library. After class, Nathan and Selena met up as they promised. So this is the Azelia Kingdom. Nathan looked at the map Selena roughly sketched. Yes. We might not be close to the front line, but we're just right behind it. The kingdom south of this place, which is directly connected to the alien border, is the Liaistian Kingdom. Their second prince is our classmate. Also, there is another country that develops for the grace of angels, the Holy Kingdom. They are prospering under the blessing of angels, which allows them to supply food for the front line as well as helping the injured. On the west, there are two places that you might need to be aware of. The first one is the Blacksmith Guild. Their heir, August, is also our classmate. The second one is a kingdom where the beasts reign supreme. Beast. Nathan frowned. He thought this would be something similar to him, but Selena clarified, yes. The beasts are basically something like werewolves, centaurs, cat people, and so on. Their summoned beings are half animal, half human. I see. Nathan nodded. In the north, we have the famous dead forest that is protected by millions of skeletons. Meanwhile, the east is basically the mix of everything. There are several powers, but I'm not very sure. There is a lot of jumbled information regarding the east. Is that so? Nathan asked, how about you? Are you a noble from this kingdom? I am. Selena drew another sketch. She marked the first one as Phryxia Academy, where they were currently studying. My family is somewhere around here. She circled the area on the west, which wasn't that far from the Holy Kingdom. Does your family experience a famine or something? Does the Holy Kingdom not help you? Nathan asked with an innocent face, as if he were clueless about how absurd his question was. What? Selena was baffled by the question. I thought that because you said you couldn't do anything related to money, your family might be suffering from famine, Nathan explained, taking advantage of his identity as a farmer. No. Selena's face contorted. It was because. She couldn't say it. She looked like she was in a lot of pain. Did I say something wrong? I apologize. From that reaction alone, Nathan realized that the situation was much more complex than he originally thought. It was better to leave it at that. Selena bit her lips, remembering when Nathan said he didn't need to prove himself. If only her life was so easy. How can you say that? Do you know how much I want to be a boy? My family has been cursing me because I'm a girl, and the vampire we summon is based on our gender. In other words, even if I have the talent, I don't have any chance to summon a vampire progenitor. I want to prove to my family that I can also do it. Selena took a deep breath. She felt so stupid. Why would she even get angry because of it? Nathan was just asking because he was curious, and had no intention to mock her. Still, vampire, huh? Nathan looked at the ceiling. If I can only summon a beast, I guess Cain is out of the question. Bang. Nathan's body twitched as he lowered his head. Selena just slammed the table, her eyes turning bloodshot. What did you say? Selena clenched her hands. How do you know about the vampire progenitor that my ancestor summoned? Huh? That question shook Nathan to the core. Cain existed. Nathan asked himself. He just made a random remark, but he thought that since he was a vampire, he couldn't summon him. I haven't mentioned a single name. How do you know about Cain? No, what do you know about him? You wanted me to teach you about things, but did you actually already know about it, and just play dumb this whole time? Was it that fun to watch me make a fool of myself? Nathan didn't expect such an intense reaction from Selena. At the same time, it would be troublesome if this continued. There was only one escape route. Nathan hurriedly said, "I heard it from Fenrir. He said he missed the time he fought against Cain after seeing your familiar." Selena's expression turned serious. "Fenrir? The wolf you summoned?" "Yeah." Nathan nodded. "Did he say anything else?" Selena asked. "Did he know how to summon Cain?" "No." "How did he fight Cain? Did he win? What happened?" "I don't know. He did mention 3 names, Cain, Dracula, and Lilith." Nathan tested the water by stating those 3 famous names. To his surprise, Selena sucked a cold breath as she said, "You even knew the name of the vampire progenitor that my father has?" The moment she confirmed her father had Dracula, something clicked in his mind. If Dracula and Cain exist, it means that they summon not only the creatures from normal fantasy. They are summoning the familiars from all kinds of sources as long as they are humanoid but not human. In other words, fallen angels like Lucifer or Azazel can be summoned here. No. Even my freaking idol, the great sage, heaven's equal, can also be summoned to this world. Should I go to this country where beasts reign supreme and search the Monkey King? To completely confirm his theory, Nathan couldn't help but ask, "By the way, who is the name of the archangel?" Even though she didn't know the reason for that question, she still answered, "Raphael." "Yeah. That's it. Time to search for those cool and badass motherfuckers." "No, wait. Can I just summon them? I don't really want to know this, but what if I can only summon a divine beast?" "Well, it seems that I can only confirm it once I summon my second familiar." While Nathan was in deep thought, Selena kept muttering a single name over and over again. "Lilith. Lilith. Lilith is a woman's name, right? If it's mentioned alongside Cain and Dracula, she should also be a vampire progenitor, right? Does that mean I can summon a vampire progenitor as well?" Nathan caught a glimpse of her expression. She was strangely happy about the name. He couldn't help but wonder, there are a lot of sources about Lilith. If she somehow summons her, it won't follow the lore about Lilith being a combination between a vampire and a succubus, right? Nathan couldn't help but imagine Selena's face, which was devoid of expression most of the time, to be one like a succubus. "There will be a trip for you to experience hunting the aliens. It will last for a week. The teacher will be following you to ensure your safety, but remember that those who make a big result will be rewarded. And 2 weeks after this trip will be the day for your second summoning. It can be said that the amount of cores you get from this trip will influence your second summoning. If you manage to get a lot of cores, you will have a lot of Aina to sacrifice. For this second summoning, the school will be helping you to acquire an item for your sacrifice. Of course, those in the top 5 will receive the best option. Those 2 weeks are for the school to acquire that item. To prepare you for the hunt, we'll be starting with physical training." Jason had brought all the students to the field with a giant circle in the middle. "The task for today is simple. For the next 2 hours, you will run until you can't do it anymore. Any questions?" "Teacher." August raised his head. "What are we supposed to prepare or bring for the trip? Can we bring anything?" Jason understood where August was coming, considering August was the successor of the Blacksmith Guild. His equipment would definitely be top tier. Jason explained, "Yes. You are free to bring any equipment with you, but only equipment. Other things will be provided by the school, and you're only allowed to choose 10 items. As for the details, it'll be explained once we're about to go." August lowered his head once he understood the explanation. Since no one raised their hand anymore, Jason continued while pointing to the left, "If you don't have any questions, you may start now. Run in a circle." A lot of people reacted almost immediately, running before anyone else. Nathan remembered that Vivian offered him a weapon. It seemed that the others understood the importance of their own abilities. Some of them had been training since young, so they didn't have any problem when running like this. However, the majority of students had crappy stamina. They barely ran for several minutes and started dropping to the ground. "What are you doing?" "Keep running," Jason shouted. "Teacher, this is hard. Why would we do all this? We are summoners." "That's right. Our summoned familiars will be the ones doing all the fighting," the students complained. "The familiars will do all the fighting. Let's assume that's true. Then, how about you? What if you are the one targeted by those aliens? What if you are surrounded and outnumbered? Can your familiar fight all of them? No. Can you actually run away from such a situation? No. Why? Because you can't even run for several minutes. Summoners like you are the first ones to die on the battlefield." Jason didn't hold back with his lecture. Those who had trained their bodies had a smug smile on their faces, looking down on these students. However, it became more and more apparent that as time went on, the students started using their ANA to boost their physical ability. In other words, the first week's lesson was actually used to supplement this week's training. All except for Nathan. Ha! Ha! Nathan was already panting heavily. Even though this body was a farmer, his stamina couldn't keep up. In the end, he only started his proper training ever since he came to this world. "What is this?" Nathan didn't bother to look around, but he could feel the mocking gaze of people. In fact, Raven, who was beaten previously by him, couldn't help but sneer. Whether it was fortunate or unfortunate, due to him beating Raven completely, his academy's life became peaceful with no random person challenging him out of nowhere. At the same time, no one actually came closer to Nathan. They were just staring at him from a distance, as if he were a rare animal. The only person in the class that would talk to him was actually Selena, but because she had been using her ANA to supplement her physical ability this whole time, she had been running much faster than him. After noticing what Nathan was currently doing, she couldn't help but approach Nathan and match his pace. "Why aren't you using your ANA? While your ANA manipulation is not the best in the class, you should be able to enhance your physical abilities." "No. Why would I do that? The purpose is to train your stamina, not to see who has more ANA to boost one's physical ability." Selena's body twitched as she came to a realization. Using ANA defeats the purpose. Nathan didn't say anything more, but that should be clear enough for Selena. As expected, she immediately retracted her ANA and said, "Thank you. I'll be sprinting for now to fix my mistake from using my ANA." Little did he know, there was one person who had been observing him during the whole training. As soon as he saw Selena retracting her ANA, he immediately caught up with Nathan. "What did you say to Selena to make her stop using her ANA?" Nathan was startled, not expecting that someone would talk to him. The person had yellowish-white hair. His pair of eyes were gentle but seemed to be able to see through a person. "Isn't he the second prince of the Leistian kingdom that Selena mentioned before?" "No way. Is this it? I have read hundreds of stories about this kind of situation. The prince is going to get angry because I talked to her, and he will challenge me because of the I'm breathing situation," was what Nathan thought. To his surprise, Rudius actually chuckled, saying, I apologize. It seems that I startle you." "Yeah, I was rude. I am Rudius, I'm a prince, but I come here as a summoner, not a prince. So you don't have to give me a special treatment. Isn't he kind of a decent person?" Nathan was taken aback. He hurriedly replied, "It can't be done. Even though I'm not a citizen of the Leistian kingdom, I can't treat your highness like that." "Heh. Your manner is on point, even though it's a bit rough. As expected, it seems that someone has taken a fancy to you and taught you a lot of things." Rudius smirked before waving his hand, signaling to him that it wasn't a big deal. "If you give me special treatment, my family will be the one to punish me, so it'll be fine to talk casually. I'll do the same to blend in." "Why is he smart?" "No, more like, why is he a decent prince?" Nathan smiled wryly. "I understand. I thank you for your understanding." Rudius nodded. So what did you tell her to the point where she retracted her ana? Since I got the first place's reward in the first lesson, I will give you 10 cores if you answer this simple question. You don't have to. I just told her that if you were in a dangerous situation where your ana ran out, what would you do? Rudius looked up and down as if he were contemplating his words. I see. Thank you for the answer. I have promised you, so don't reject it anymore. After saying those words, Rudius sped up while retracting his ana, leaving Nathan stunned. He is actually a decent guy. Maybe I shouldn't see people with such prejudices. Nathan frowned. Jason couldn't help but smile when he saw what happened, thinking, yeah. That's it. Unless you are a completely sheltered human, there will come a time where you will run out of ana. People often neglect their own physical strength and end up dying during that time.